Hi, my name is Dr. Padilla. I'm a professor in computer science and psychology, and I've been a professor for over 5 years now. Today, I wanted to give you my advice for pitfalls to avoid when writing grants. And this is particularly for PhD students, but this general advice applies. Now, I have applied for many grants, and I have a very high success rate in getting grants, and I've also reviewed dozens, maybe hundreds of different grants. I've seen all the different ways of doing it, and I consistently see that students in particular have pitfalls that they get into over and over again. So watch this video to avoid 5 common pitfalls for PhD grant applications. Okay, to start, let's talk about why are you applying for grants during your PhD? We are in a whole new world of funding where sometimes funding can be a little bit more scarce. So I encourage you to apply for every single grant that you are qualified to apply for. So this could be large-scale grants based on the country that you're in. It could be industry grants from a particular company to support your research, or it might be local to your institution or your university. In any case, you should apply for as many of these as possible because it'll help you secure your own funding, and that will make it a little bit easier for you to pursue your independent research during your PhD. Now, if you're interested in a whole video on a PhD grant template that I recommend, take a look at a video that I will link below. Here, I'm just gonna cover the 5 common mistakes that I see. Now, the number one mistake that I see for PhD grant applications is that they are too vague. What do I mean by this? Oftentimes you're describing research and you don't often know exactly how you're going to execute a particular project or a plan, and you just write generally about the topic. Here are some ways I'm going to do X or Y. Do not do this. This will get you almost automatically rejected from a grant application. You need to be as specific as humanly possible. The trick is that you do not want your grant reviewers to do any work mentally at all. Don't expect them to kind of imagine what the project will be like or imagine what these processes will be. You need to tell them in as much detail as humanly possible everything that you're going to execute. That might seem crazy, and I see it over and over and over with students that they're too vague. So every time there's an opportunity to provide more details, do. Explain every process in as much detail as possible, almost as if you've already done it. The trick is that you want people to think that you're ready, you're prepared. As soon as you get the money, boom, you're gonna run the research because you have it all planned out. Even if you don't, go ahead and make some example processes and write those out, exactly what the methods would be, how many participants, how many subjects, what are all the tools that you're going to use. Explain it in extreme detail to avoid that first pitfall. Now, the second pitfall that I see over and over again is no clear motivation. Now, what tends to happen is it can be very hard to figure out how to motivate your research. Oftentimes you might be doing basic science, and so the motivation is that you're just trying to perpetuate science. You're trying to build science up, right? So many of the ideas you might have could be an extension, or no one's done it before, or you can do it, so why not? I would encourage you to think about the phrase, just because I can do it doesn't mean I should do it. So think about, should you be doing something? Not just can you do it, but should you be doing it? What important research contribution is your particular project contributing to? And that can be very, very hard. Oftentimes we do science and we don't know the ramifications of it till 20, 30 years down the road. But in grant writing, you need to make it clear, okay? So this might be something where you are doing a very basic science type of thing. It really isn't clear what the direct application to the world is, but just try to spell it out for people. Don't make them use their imagination, say, well, theoretically, this result, this finding could be applied in this way and could have this impact in the world. You want to connect the dots for people so they don't have to imagine what the impact of your research will be. You are telling them what the research impact will be. Now, a really great way to do this is to have a motivating example. So you might say, this work could be applied in this field, in this specific example, in this way. You can basically describe a use case for the particular finding and pick a use case that is important that people care about. So think about high impact topics. How does your research contribute to those high impact topics that people are actually interested in? And you can describe that use case in detail so people can understand how your work might ultimately be applied. Okay, my third pitfall is taking too big of a bite. And what do I mean by that? Oftentimes I think about research like the conceptual problem of how do you go about eating an elephant? Well, one bite at a time, right? That's how you take a big problem and break it down into little chunks. Now, the problem is that PhD students often try to take too big of a bite at first, and it is not possible for them to complete that work within the time frame of the grant. Every grant you're going to be applying for will fund you for a particular time period, 2 years, 1 year, etc. So you want to scope the nature of the work to fit within that period. So the amount, the bite of the elephant you want to take needs to be scoped to that amount. For example, you're not going to solve the biggest problems in your field in that duration of the grant. That might be what you do over the course of your entire career. For this grant, you're taking a bite of that larger problem, and that's how you really motivate it to be compelling. But make sure that bite is actually reasonable for that particular period of time. A really nice way to frame this is saying something like, here's a big important topic that everyone knows matters in the world. I'm gonna take the first steps by doing X, Y, or Z. That is a first small bite to address an ultimately larger problem. What you don't want to say is, I'm gonna solve that major problem with this particular grant. Sure, you might many years down the road, but for this grant, you need to write it as, I'm taking the first steps, or I'm taking this chunk of the problem, I'm going to solve that. Okay, the fourth common pitfall that I see in many PhD grants is claiming to be the first of something. Now, you might very well be the first. That would be great if you were the first person to think of your particular problem. But what framing your grant as being the first to address a problem does is it makes the reviewer try to find counterfactuals. You do not want the reviewer in the practice of trying to figure out how you are wrong. So when you say you're the first, they're trying to think of counterexamples of other people who've done that. You do not want to be in that situation where the reviewer is attempting to disprove what you've written. Instead, you could say, this topic has been understudied, or this area of research needs more investigation. Here are the works that have looked at this. They have yet to extend it in this way. Rather than saying I'm the first to do X, Y, or Z, you can say I'm extending an understudied field. I know it's very subtle, but I often see PhD students will say I'm the first, and then automatically the reviewer is not on your side because they are trying to prove you wrong. You don't want to be in that situation. All right, and my fifth pitfall to avoid is claiming to save a field that is not your own. This sounds kind of strange, but I see it over and over again, where what a PhD student will do is they will say, I'm going to use my research to save a different field that is not my own. That's often because they might not know enough about this other field that they are not currently getting their PhD in, and they might assume that their work could do this other field's research better, or they'll apply these new methods better, any of those types of things. That comes off as very arrogant, unfortunately, and what can happen is you might have a reviewer in that other field, and they will feel very combative and say, no, we do it well. We don't need this person who's not even in our field to save our field. They should be doing work in their own field. So it seems like a very strange pitfall, but I see it over and over again. So I just wanted to warn you about that particular pitfall. Do not try to save a field that is not your own. Okay, those were my 5 major pitfalls that I see PhD students fall into when they're writing grants. If you found this video useful, definitely consider hitting the like button and subscribing for more content on academic success. Academia can be tough, but you don't have to go through it alone. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.